Pete.
Getting anybody coming in? There's eyes on us, but they should be able. Just remind people if they're hearing you to. I think it's that button at the top right. They may still have to click into it. The blue box that says "Get their audio in."
Are they hearing you or just me?
Both of us. This is an open sharing, so anybody that comes.
All right, so say that again for anybody who's clicked in and not on the video.
Yeah, if they're just watching us talk, they can share their video and microphone by, I believe there's a box that they clicked in the right corner, or they're just coming right in. So right now there comes somebody right now. There's Robin.
Here's Robin. Great. Good morning,
Okay,
Robin.
I'm going to hop over. Did you have to click anything to come in, Robin, or did you just come right in?
Yeah, so it's on my phone, and it's a little tricky to find my way back to where I can find the sessions. Then I clicked, I found the session, I click it, and then it asked me if I want to let the hop in, use my camera and my audio. But there's 2 buttons in my upper right-hand corner to turn on video and audio if I want.
Yeah, and that's what we want everybody to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Merritt. So, yeah, it seems to be there's 12 people watching and 3 of us on camera, 13 people watching. So, do you see that? You don't see that at the top?
I see 13 up top.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the number of people that are in the session, but only 3 out of 20 are 4 out of 20.
There's Jen. Great.
All right, I'm going to go jump over in the other section and see if James is going there.
Go ahead.
Bye.
Good morning to those of you that have visually come on the screen. I encourage all of you to do so. This can be a conversation. It's not a presentation. It's a sharing session. I'm going to put that in chat.
Can you guys see me? Because I can't see myself.
Yes, Robin, I can see you.
Huh. Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
And we've got Cece and Dave. Dave's a blue spot. Let's wait just a second in hopes that we'll get some other faces on the screen. And then I'd like to do introductions and where everybody's from. Supposedly there should be 13. Come on, guys, if you can, if you have cameras.
Oh, because I mean, like,
I'm not even sure my message got. No.
This is Teresa. I'm a blue dot. Can anybody hear me by chance?
Yes, Teresa.
Fantastic. I'm having a challenge with my camera this morning, but I'm trying.
Okay, Teresa, that's fine. Yeah, Swank dominates. Woo! Not that we wanted to do that, but you are outnumbered, Jen and Robin. But that's a good thing. We're friendly folk.
Where are all the other educators out there?
Well, you know what? I guess we'll just go ahead and go. I've put in the chat, please enter with video, blue box on right, the upper right. And so in this group here, hi, good morning. Robin, I don't know that we formally have met. I'm Mary Allen. I'm the Recycling and Education Director for the Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County, also known as SWANK. And I've agreed just to kind of be the moderator to get conversations going and see what we have to say about challenges, solutions, and sharing new information and resources that we have heard of or are involved with. So, Robin, if you would then be our next to introduce yourself, tell us where you're from and what your role is.
Okay, yes. My name is Robin Magala. I refer to myself as Greeniac at Large. And I try to run a zero waste household, and I rent out rooms to all the awful normals. And oh boy, do they need an education. And I don't know what the problem is, because Jen Jarlin does a fantastic job of educating in Kane County. And it's amazing how little of it gets through. So I'm also co-chair of Elgin Green Group's 350. Oh, there is Michaela Larson, who is our
Hey.
sustainability analyst here at Elgin. And I'm so glad to see you.
Hello.
So I'm really passionate about this. Anyway, that's me.
Okay, great. Nice to meet you. Michaela, why don't you go next, since we kind of had a little tip on who you are.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michaela Larson. I am the sustainability analyst for the city of Elgin. I just began in this position in July, so I am still a little new, but really excited to be meeting with the different groups that make up Elgin and really get to work. So in my previous position, I was a waste reduction member for the Minnesota Green Corps AmeriCorps program.
Good training
really
grounds.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, my passion lies in waste management and organics. In my position, I've been doing a lot. In my new position, I've been doing a lot of work with energy and water quality and air. So a lot of exciting things. But I'm really happy to be here and talk about some waste today.
Terrific. Thank you. Joan Jarlin, why don't, since we kind of have the quadrant of Swank and Kane County represented, and we'll find out who others might be in the chat. But Jen, if you would introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. I'm Jennifer Jarland. I'm the recycling coordinator for Kane County. And it's great to see your face, Michaela, and welcome to the area. I'm so glad they have someone up there in Elgin now. That's great. And yeah, so, I'm a recycling coordinator like many of the ILCSWMA members are, and we all kind of do the same job around, but a big part of it is the education. And as a, one-man show here, it's kind of hard to do everything I want to do. And so there are definitely huge gaps here, as Robin identified. We do the Kane County Recycles Green Guide every year, which you may have seen. This is the 2020. We do have a 2021 one-page supplement for this year that just updated a few things in that. But that's a huge, we print 30,000 copies of that, and they all are given away each year. We send them out to, all the municipalities and town halls and village halls and libraries and all the public places people can pick them up, as well as we have an individual mailing list that people sign up for that it goes out to. And then there's the website, which is just chock-a-block, as they say in Australia, full of information. And it's always updated. I update that website constantly, like weekly. I'm going in there to update something and make sure all the information is accurate. So really the website is where I want people going to get their information. And then I do some public talks, but because I am one person doing all the things here, including, all of the program management and the recycling centers and the events, I can't really get out to do all the public presentations that are requested. So I've started recommending Robin. She helps fill in where she can. And that's great. Her message is a little bit, I feel, broader than mine, which is great. But I just focus on recycling and what you can and can't put on the bin and what programs we offer. Robin paints a much bigger picture about our real responsibility to, fostering sustainability. And then lastly, the thing I feel is a huge gap here in education is the schools. We don't have a school education program in Kane County, and it sucks, but I just can't. I do it. So it's too big. It's just like it's a whole other job. It could be another full-time position. So, or even part-time. I've gone out and talked to schools, but I do feel like that's a huge target area for future growth and improvement, for sure. That's about it for me.
Thank you. Then also on the video, we have Cece, if you would introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cece. I am an intern here at Swank. I just started a few weeks ago, so I'm very new. I'm getting involved and I'm getting into meetings as I can. I'm finishing my bachelor's degree in December in environmental studies, and then I hope to get my MPA doing some type of sustainability management in the future. Very exciting. I love sustainability and everything that it encompasses. So I'm excited to be involved in the conversation.
Thank you. And Teresa?
get myself off of mute here. Yes, hi. I'm sorry. I don't know why my screen is, or why my camera is blue. But that seems to be what it's doing today. So I am SWANK's educator for early childhood. So I do work in schools. So Jen, you and I should talk a little bit. I do work in schools, but for the littles. So I'm mostly with preschool through about second grade. And COVID has made things really interesting, of course. But that aside, from SWANK, our program is offered as kind of a generic taking care of our earth program. And so it does focus on reduce, recycle, composting, and kind of the ins and the outs of that, focusing a lot on reuse and less waste these days. So that's what I do. And currently I am in schools some. I still do a lot with Zoom and other platforms that the schools are using. And then we did also actually record our field trips, if you will, the other year. And we offer those as a video link for the schools to be able to use for the period of a week. And then I also offer then a Zoom either before or after for questions or answers and all of that. So that's what I do for SWANK.
Thank you. And a great job at that she does. We have also on, I have to keep looking away from where my camera is on my laptop to where my monitor is on the screen where I see you are. So that's why I'm kind of jumping back and forth, because I look here and I see my desktop. I look here and I see your beautiful faces and the names. So I wanted just to point out that in the chat, we also have Jen Nelson, a colleague of ours from 7 Generations Ahead and very involved with the Zero Waste Schools program and its development and beyond. And Donna Wojensky, who is my contact for Comp2 electronics recycling. Donna and I have been associates for a very long time, and we've been working with Comp2 as our agency's vendor for, I think we're going on the 6th year. I'd have to go back and look for sure. And then Angelique, I don't want to mispronounce your name, Angelique Kuehl. You're from Jackson County. And then Kelly, let me look at Kelly. How do you, who wants to pronounce Kelly's last name so I don't get it wrong?
Bachman?
I would try Beckman.
Okay.
Beckman.
There's nothing worse than saying somebody's name wrong. So welcome to all of you. I see that Jen Nelson has put, how many of you were on the food recovery toolkit presentation yesterday?
I was.
Okay, so not everybody. So Jen Nelson has put a link into the chat. Please be sure to check out this wonderful toolkit. It was Jen and I both, along with others from the Wasted Food Action Alliance, contributed to this document. It was authored by Susan Casey and Becky Brodsky of 7 Generations Ahead. It came out and we finished it, a 2.5-year project in April of 2020. And instead of this big hurrah and this big wonderful acceptance and let's go forward with it, you know, our world shut down with COVID. So now we're just trying to get it resurrected to educate those throughout the state. It's K through 12. So please click on that link. And as a result of yesterday's, the links that were part of the presentation that I moderated, I am going to add those today for you for other school related and education initiatives. To include the Green Ribbon School program, some handouts that the agency has, that SGA has. So as you all start talking, I will put those links into the chat. Jen? Jarlin?
Yeah, I just wanted to pop in here. Sorry, all of my phones are just going nuts this morning. Apologize for the noise. I just wanted to say, and I don't know if I can share my screen. or not, but I have on the Kane County Recycles webpage a page called Videos and Articles. And I did, in the time of COVID, also record a couple of my presentations, one of which was for a Geneva middle school. And they've had me out there a couple times to talk. They have a very, very engaged, or I'm not sure if it's middle school. Sorry, I don't have kids, but it's fourth grade. And they are just so amazing. These kids are just such critical thinkers and creative thinkers. And so I created this very short presentation for them that is just 19 minutes long. And it just sort of gives them an idea on things they could do to have an action project in school. And it's all around zero waste lunches mainly, because that's just such a for me, low-hanging fruit. It's like, and here's this toolkit, which is going to help you. And so I do promote that toolkit in the presentation. And then I also have a resources linked in this document link here. Excuse me, that was really, anyway, utilizing these resources in the document, they can go and access the toolkit and everything. I do need to go in there and check now after yesterday's presentation to make sure it's linking to the web page and not the actual report, in case it does change. So in any case, though, I just wanted to mention that and let you know, Jen, particularly, that I am trying to promote that in the small way that I can.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. Since you were talking, Jen, I did put in tons of links that I hope you'll just copy and paste, and we'll try and send out to attendees as well post-conference to find out a lot about pieces of parts that are in the toolkit, about the case studies. So that's for you.
Mary, can I interrupt a quick question or quick second and ask a question back to Jen for her videos and what you have available on your website? You were saying the toolkits. Have you had the opportunity to follow up with any of the schools that you've shared that with? And if so, have they done anything with it, or do they just say that's pretty and not?
Oh, well, this is the thing about it being online. I don't know who's accessed it. I can see how many hits there's been.
Okay.
And at this point, like if I click on that video, it's, up on YouTube. I'll be able to tell you in a second how many times it's been viewed.
Gotcha.
26.
Okay.
Admittedly, 5 of those were probably me. Like there's another one right now. But anyway, it's 20 people, and who knows, who that's reached. The original school, I did follow up with them, and as I said, they've done this, I think, 3 different years with a double set of 4th grade classes that come together to do it. So it's been 6 classes that have actually gone through this and then done a project as well. And as far as what success they had, that data I do not have.
Gotcha. But there to at least been effort on the school's end for something. Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's something. It's so small though.
Right. Well, and I ask because I kind of feel like, and maybe some of it has to do with COVID, but at least on the end of SWNC, that a lot of the schools I go into kind of go, yay, great, thanks, we're glad you're here, we learned a lot, this is awesome. And then when I follow up, they don't do much with it. Hopefully the kids get the information and absorb it, which is what's important. But I was just kind of wondering what anyone else has come across.
We were very hopeful that we could do some training, some school training for custodial staff, for administrators, for food service directors. And there was even talk about, and Jen Nelson can provide some input into this because it's been a little while. And Susan Casey isn't present, who was really leading the committee for us. But I think that I thought that USDA was looking at maybe doing some grants for us to take it around the state to do some training. But because of the sensitivity of being in person now with still COVID restrictions, it's probably going to still be delayed till next year, if even then. Jen Nelson says we are having success launching and relaunching schools in Chicago Public Schools and in Lake County and McHenry County. So things are starting to open up. I've been invited to do a couple waste audits already for the SWNC community, SWNC schools this November. and I'll have my mask on, but I think it's something that I can safely do and get back in action. That those of us that are out in schools really sorely missed during the COVID lockdown. Jen Nelson is a wonderful schools, she and Susan Casey for 7 Generations Ahead. Please check out their website. They have numerous resources. They also have a division of Farm to School and so much more. So check out 7 Generations Ahead for tons of information, or reach out to Jen with any questions. Yeah, mostly Jen stepping back from the schools, and she has for a while. It's mostly Susan Casey and Becky Brodsky for the zero waste schools. Anybody else have something to share, or a challenge that you're finding with COVID, looking for solutions, looking for any particular information?
I see that there's a few more people that aren't on camera, which I know might be an issue, but I thought we might just let you know, if you're just listening in, you can go up to the top right-hand corner above all of the images of us, and there's a button that says request video and audio access or something like that. If you click that, you can join us here on the screen.
I know some have indicated in the chat that they're not able to, but if anybody else has joined, we'd love to see your face.
Yeah.
I wanted to also encourage you, if you're looking for videos, resources, guides, brochures pertaining to waste prevention, recycling, and composting, to go to the agency's website. That has been my focus, along with outreach and schools programs and our municipal special material programs now for 26 years. I don't know how so many years have passed in a blink of the eye, but they have. And so as looking back, I at least have some things to show for those 26 years that I love to share with you. So let me just put swink.org. Use 2 C's instead of a K. If you get a K, you'll really get a surprise. I found that out early.
I just added my page as well.
Super. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Jen, we've got Jen Jarlin and Jen Nelson. Jen and I are also involved with the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition. In fact, if you're looking for composting resources, composting service providers, slew of information to look to see what other counties are composting. Oh, thanks, Jen. You beat me to the punch. I was going to put the website in. Please go to IFSC to look at all the resources there as well. And then Jen and I have been involved in the Wasted Food Action Alliance. It's more of a Northern Illinois regional, but it's connected nationally now with mechanisms and apps and communications to get local food to local places where they're hungry people, instead of throwing the food away, which comes before composting. So Jen also put that in, Nelson also put that in the chat. So that's another website to check out with a lot of different information. Local growing initiatives between the two organizations. They're totally separate, but there's so much synergy and connectivity between the two that it's hard to talk about one without talking about the other. Let's see, who else do we have? Donna, is there anything that you're looking for in your pursuit of education within Comp 2? Or who else do we have on here? Angelique, Kelly, anything that you want to share with us in the chat, or links that you would like us to look up for more information? Nobody has to mute. You all stay on mic because this is a conversation.
I just had background noise, but I
Unless
just
we have bad gas.
Right. I just wanted to sort of point to you, Robin, again, and see if you had. I just think Robin is just such a wealth of knowledge, and really appreciate her presence here in the education realm in Kane County, and just also your creative thinking around the topic. And so I just thought I'd turn the mic over to you if you have anything further to say, not necessarily about resources, but about also ideas for how we could improve, that sort of thing. If you
Well,
feel to.
you know, I'm not always politically correct. And my latest shtick when I do my zero waste program is we live in a world of waste privilege, which is way worse than white privilege. And we really need to start talking about the permission we give ourselves to waste at every level. We're giving ourselves permission, and even in our own lives, we're still wasting. And we have a little psychological committee up there that helps give us that privilege. And that we need to start talking about the privilege of waste and the damage it does.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my latest shtick.
That's good. And many of us aren't politically correct. I know that when our faces are out in front representing the agencies and the counties that we represent, we have to be careful on political views and things that we say.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's many of us have the heart and soul of what you're talking about and totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to want to call my program White Trash Talks Trash. I thought it would fill the room with the unenlightened. Anyway.
Yeah, so
maybe the ends don't justify the means. I don't know.
But how do we turn, you know, the conversation in a meaningful way, and you know, how do we reach the audience that we're not reaching as well with that message, you know, because I feel like often when I do a presentation, I'm talking to the choir, and you probably get the same thing because they're the people that are interested. Yeah. So
absolutely.
That's a huge question that I've had, you know, and I am constantly saying that's how I start all my presentations. We all know the 3 R's, but there's another one I always put at the beginning, and it's rethink. We need to start rethinking how we use our resources and how to stop wasting them. So, but
something else I like to do at the beginning of my presentations is just to connect the dots for, you know, we share our Earth's resources with over 7 billion people, and our environment knows no political boundaries. There's no red, no blue. So when there's pollution, when there's resource depletion, when there is angst among a country, it impacts everybody. And through our waste prevention and recycling and recovery, you know, the benefits of the resources that are saved and the greenhouse gas emissions that are reduced is where we all need to stand together as a world. And so that just kind of setting that stage to feel smaller than what some people think as being so powerful and so big locally. When you look at the whole, all of a sudden we are just like a little speck. And so I'd like to kind of just preface everything by looking big, and then talk about what you can do locally, because that's where the grassroots efforts really start, by leading, by action, by communicating and collaborating with other community organizations, and, you know, just trying to give that empowerment through options, you know, through the educational process of the presentation. So that's kind of how I tackle it.
Yeah, it's a human issue, not an environmental issue, right?
So a couple of things. I'm reading Education of an Idealist. Anybody read that? Samantha Power?
No, would you put that book in the chat for us, though, when you stop talking?
Yeah, I will, because she made a really fantastic point. So her big shtick is she wants to end genocide. So I'm not sure on Power which one's more important. But anyway, what she discovered is when she tries to talk to people about the big picture, she was losing people. It was when, I don't even remember the guy's name, shame on me, was killed in, I can't remember whether it was Bosnia or Darfur. I think it was Bosnia. And it was a personal story that people could connect to. It reached a way wider audience and actually birthed the organization that is now probably the premier organization of ending genocide. So making it personal. So one of the things I also open up with is I ask everybody in the room if they love someone or something, and that gets them in their belly. And then I go, is it your spouse? Is it your pet? And I ask them to shift that love to the earth, to start acting like they love the earth the way they love their loved one or loved thing. So it's how do we connect it to the personal that it might be. That's the I'm having trouble reaching that gap, but Samantha Power's book really helped me to see that. So I'll
Thanks
put that
for
in
sharing that. I have one that really spoke to me called Our Earth, Our Species, Ourselves. And it has a lot of information in it. And it's science-based, but it's also philosophical, and it gets down to the personal level of really reflecting on what's important to you. It's the subtitle is How to Thrive While Creating a Sustainable World by Ellen Moyer. So I will put this in the chat as well, because that just really kind of focuses you and grounds you in what your beliefs are and why, and then how to get going and take action.
The personal aspect is so important. Yesterday when Scott Cassell spoke on EPR at the keynote in the morning, I mean, he caught my attention immediately because he was talking about his own personal story. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I had so many alignments in there. I'm reading a Kerouac book at the moment. I had a dog named Jack, all of these weird things, but it was like, oh my God, I felt like he was talking to me as well, just about the sort of crisis that I feel like so many people are going through right now with where did my passion go for this work? Like, where is my passion? How can I find that? And then again, just what you were talking about then is so true about treating your loved one in a certain way. And philosophically speaking, I feel like we should treat all people like our loved ones instead of like this enemy, which is also happening on a broad scale now. And and then the earth, so it's like this concentric, expansion. But anyway, that's all my little philosophy here. And I'm noticing, Mary, that there's a whole other conversation happening over in the chat as well. So I'm interested.
Yeah. So I'm copying that I will get. I've got, in fact, if everybody, Pete will have your emails for those of you that I don't have, but if you want to add your name for kind of attendance and then put your email, I'll make sure that I follow up after this conversation with this whole chat in case it doesn't copy when Pete distributes it.
Just as a random aside for education, this is Teresa. I know my picture's not up there. When you work with littles, you have to remember that their connection to the world, based on the lack of life experience they have, is very different than ours. So my background is not just in environmental education, but is also in behavioral psychology of youth. And the connection of, do you love your pet? Do you love this? Do you love that? Make that love towards the earth is not a growth perspective that they can have. Challenging the younger side, so probably those under the age of maybe 8 or so, 6, but definitely under 8. Or 8, definitely under 6, definitely you need to connect them to them. Like, is this something you do? And we want to do the best we can for ourselves because they're very egocentric. and then for our families and larger scale for the earth, and just reminding them that they know they're not the only ones that live here, psychologically is a stronger connection to them than something broader that we might be able to picture. Just as a thought.
Those are good points.
Different audiences.
Absolutely.
Different messages, yeah.
Absolutely. You can't pull at the heartstrings really of an 8-year-old because they don't have them yet.
And you just the diverse, with Teresa and her expertise with early childhood. I don't even like to talk to littles anymore. If she's not available and I get asked, I ask them to wait, because it really is a special thought process and skill set that she has that I no longer really feel that I do, even though I have grandchildren and I kind of know how to talk to them a little bit. Teresa's got the expertise, so I'm much more comfortable with, middle school, high school, and certainly adult organizations, because it's hard to transition to what I talk to an adult group about and then turn around and talk to a kindergarten. And before we had the early childhood educator back in 2005, Teresa is our third. I would have to make that transition, and I never felt like I was truly effective, or I had to really guess about the words that I chose that were just over the little kid's head. So I'm really, really happy that Teresa leads the younger section of education, which just allows me not to have to try and transition at all and just focus on the older groups.
Yeah. I wanted to make a comment really quick, actually. Something that we kind of talk about within my classes a lot at school is the idea that we're a separate entity from nature. So I think coming back full circle around to it is that the idea that that man has this dominion over nature. So kind of full circling it back to the idea that we are nature, we're a part of the earth, that saving the earth is saving us. It's not like we're doing this for the trees or for someone else. We're doing it for ourselves and our children and, generations to come. So making sure that it is understood full circle to begin with could help with communicating the importance of it.
For sure, Cece. Anybody like to continue that?
I think she's dead on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a really good point. Something I struggle with in my work is understanding who cares about what. And I think that is the biggest kind of magic trick I have to play. Okay, I'm talking to this person, and do they care about the trees? Do they care about their pocketbooks? Do they care about their children? Do they care about security? A lot of times everybody cares about those same base concepts, but I think really driving home a message is getting down to what that group really does value. I have no problem saying, hey, if you compost and you can diminish your trash, you're saving money. Let's come at it from a money saving standpoint, because a lot of the strategies that I'm trying to push forward will be saving money in the long term, but it's the behavior change. So just getting past that opening time when there's kind of, are they going to buy in or are they going to tune me out? But I think getting to know your audience is huge, and that's easier said than done. But that is just something I struggle with. How am I going to connect? How am I going to deeply connect with these people that I'm talking to and turn them into a teammate instead of a antagonist? So just dropping that out there. If anybody has any perspective on that or any tips, I am all ears.
I wanted I'm looking at the chat here.
Maybe we need to partner with the.
Go ahead, Robin.
I was going to say maybe we need to partner with the NFL and, dare I say, the pornography industry.
I've already thought of that one. I've thought, make it sexy, but anyway.
Well, and I was just going to say, I know, Mary, you were going to jump in, but on Michaela's page 2 with what she was saying, I very much agree. I think a lot of whom we speak to is the choir, or those who have been influenced by the choir, and we can connect to them on any of those, that gamut that you mentioned. It's like you said, you worded it well, and I forgot your words, but making them a partner, finding a way to influence them to take action beyond the next 24 hours where they go home and think about, maybe, oh, should I reuse this? Does it go in my recycle? Does it go in the trash? But beyond that point, making it long-term is honestly what I struggle with. And they're the ones who want to hear it, let alone the ones who want to give you the finger, when you're, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I think the long-term aspect, that's a great piece to add, because even myself, even in the beginning of my zero waste journey, it's you forget to do things, but the more times you remember to do, or the more times you can check in with a family member, like, oh hey, that's recyclable, and it kind of drives it home. That helps to just underline and develop the habit. But
right,
if that kind of system doesn't exist, or at school, if somebody goes there and they're recycling at home, but then they go to school and it's not, or vice versa, and the reinforcing loop kind of gets broken, it's so difficult to keep that consistent and keep it strong. So somehow, and I love, like, how can I get to people, like at the laundromat? Like, where are people going? At the grocery store? Let's intercept them in their daily lives and start building habits there, because I just really struggle with reaching into the corners of the community and making sure that everybody's part of the group. Like we've said here, there's a lot of people that we see in multiple groups, in multiple spaces, and that's amazing to have those champions in the community. But we're not going to do it with our few champions.
I was walking my dog the other morning on garbage day, and I couldn't bite my tongue walking past this guy's house who was putting out his recycle bin, because it was a garbage bin. And I couldn't bite my tongue. And so I had to stop. And we had about a 35-minute conversation. And I think it ended with him having some thoughtfulness, but absolutely zero willingness to act. But he was not a willing participant from the beginning. He kind of got nailed on the sidewalk. So that's different.
It's interesting in statistics, and if anybody has anything more recent, it's 50% of the people recycle. 25% can be won over by behavior changing in education, and 25% will never. So he was probably, in that 25% that just kind of went, yeah, right. But that doesn't mean we should stop. That doesn't mean, and I think when we approach, if rather than try to not to be judgmental, but to say,
sure,
right. to encourage, maybe to educate, hey, I've got a flyer that I can share with you. I see that you've put this, and this in your cart. And that's what cart tagging is all about, is to raise that education level of contamination in the cart right there, person to person at the household, and then continue to follow up. I'm very excited to have CC on board. To be one of the first directives that Dave is giving her is to do a pilot in the spring with several of our communities with cart tagging. Not all communities. I mean, not the whole community, but just a segment of it, just to see how it goes and to encourage our other communities to follow suit, because we're a very small staff. And we can't do everything ourselves. So it would just be kind of the leadership that you provide. And what you were saying, Michaela, about trying to get somebody in a laundromat, or maybe even on the bus, when you take your reusables with you, and when you're shopping at the store and you have your reusable bag and someone comments on it, and that's kind of not so quirky anymore like it was in 1995 when I first started. But carrying your reusable coffee cup, your reusable water, to take your own containers if you go to eat, and then put your leftovers in them rather than taking the styrofoam or compostable. It's still generating waste. So the idea is not to generate waste. I think that speaks volumes for people watching us, that will never know the impacts truly, but that leadership, quiet leadership, is also very strong and needed. I encourage you all to look in the chat. Merlan has a little comment there about a story she's talking about. And let me look over to see. Go back up here.
Also, I just wanted to touch on the story of the neighbor. The fact that, he felt thoughtful, but then he didn't change, that tells me that he doesn't feel motivated to do anything. And then that makes me ask, well, what would motivate him? Is it, I think like Merlane commented, if there's neighborhood peer pressure, if we can see each other's carts, or if there's financial pressure, or if there's some sort of goal for the space, like the county or the city, like what does motivation look like to that person? And that is, I think, the key to bring them along. So,
and I think not just with the garbage guy, but yeah, with the example of him was kind of the larger case in point. But I agree. What's going to motivate everybody? And when you're speaking to a group of 12 or 200, it's going to motivate everybody different. Something's going to motivate everybody very differently.
Yeah, it's, I'm having this thought now around, it's an older book now. Gosh, it's like probably 20 years old now, but Doug Mackenzie Moore, community-based social marketing.
Yeah.
We're touching on that here, neighbors talking to neighbors, getting these neighborhood like scouts who are going to go out and talk to everybody. And it's super effective. Word of mouth. And, and then other things he talks about in there are like these accountability pieces where, if you have an event or a street party, and then you have a poster that says, I will recycle right. And then people put their name on it. And then you take a photo and you publish that somewhere. It's like people will go, oh, I've just been publicly outed as I'm going to do it, so I better do it, and things like that, using language like, join your neighbors in doing this thing or whatever, so that you feel a part of a group instead of an individual. Things like that, I think, are still just really powerful methods. It's proven it works really well. But, so is that maybe part of the way of the future, and yesterday I was talking about how do we get the funding to do these things, and what about crowdsourcing to help fund legislative work, for people who believe in that. Would they give money? So also, would they give time? We're all so busy right now that it can't, time is a hard one, but I feel like people's not moral compass, what am I trying to say? Their values maybe have shifted in the last couple of years because of what we've all been through. And so maybe there is an opportunity there to, gather more in our villages to make things happen. And I mean, that's my hope. Who knows if that'll happen or how to make that happen? I don't know, but just envisioning it, I think, is a powerful thing as well.
Well, I have to say that, even in this session, where are the men? Where are the men? And I'm an Aptera ambassador. It's like my new EV that gets 1,000 miles on a single chart that hopefully I'll get delivery on next year. I noticed that those rooms are full of men. So maybe we have to figure out how to make this 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds thing do something. I don't know.
People tend to listen to men more for whatever reason too. So I feel like, that's another part of, at least like if you're speaking, if you're, if your audience is a men and you're a woman trying to come to them and convince them of something, you probably just lost because you're a woman right off the bat. So unfortunately, that's how it is in some cases, depending, especially on the industry. If you're in an industry that's like money driven, especially, people associate women with knowing nothing about money. So,
well, it's also been an industry, with the good old boys in the industry, the haulers, the recyclers, the operators, the transfer station, the landfill, highly dominated by males. And it seems like the females that are involved, there's more engineers coming on, there's more government, we're seeing that open up more in IEPA and other, usually the government, not the private sector. Little bit, LRS just hired another female, yay. But the educators, particularly in this industry, have largely been female in my experience throughout all these years. So women rule. We know that. I mean, and I think that with certain men, you have to be able to talk to where they're going to listen. And sometimes it's going, fuck you. And other times it's, where they're like, Walter Willis is a wonderful male example of someone to work with that highly respects women, as well as my boss, Dave Van Voren. And I think that, you wiggle in with the allies, and then you get into the larger group and you start to get accepted, and you can penetrate with the conversations and make them deeper and meaningful, or you hit them over the head.
Yeah. So on my way to Crystal Lake this morning, I saw a bumper sticker and it said, women, something to the effect of women need to belong in places where decisions are being made. And the interesting thing about this bumper sticker, it was all of 2 inches square. I was lucky it was a long light, and that I drive a Leaf, so I have a short thing in front of me, and I was able to pretty much kiss her bumper, or his. I couldn't even see who was in the car, but I thought I need that bumper sticker enlarged.
Have it be the whole bumper.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not getting the message out. But anyway, I was an interesting. I mean, that's my biggest gripe in the world is I need to be part of every decision that affects me. And if you're making a decision that affects me and it doesn't include me, I get mad.
Which is why when you look worldwide, I mean, looking with the downfall of Afghanistan and the threat that women can't be educated anymore, that poses a threat to the male leaders. When women get educated, when they start to have a voice, they start to have a power, they start to have a community to rebuttal, react, and rebel. So, I mean, it goes for centuries since the beginning of time. This power struggle, but I'm hopeful that Cece and the other young women that are on this call and talking and having conversation, that things will be turning around in your generation, and even better for your children or that generation going forward.
Mm-hmm. And I think the piece of things too is what we're doing now is different than it was 10 years ago, different than it was 20 years ago and 50 years ago, that it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, if you have knowledgeable information of what you're talking about, there's facts and there's statistics behind it, then it's not, oh, there's just another emotional woman wanting to take care of our earth. You present it very differently to the audience you're speaking to, just as if there was a man coming to speak to me about something, if he had no freaking clue what he was talking about, he'd come across like an idiot. That makes it very different if I'm going to accept his information or not. It's the same boat for us. We have just learned more, not just as women, but in terms of the subject matter itself, on the importance of it and how to present it and how to talk about it and the science and the research that's behind it. But I think that does make a difference. I mean, yes, we need more men in the education side of what we do, but I think it does make a difference. I think Cece will see it differently than I did, and I've seen it differently than others. Mm-hmm. Well, there's progress in there.
There is. I mean, there's great progress. When I think about my mother's generation, who was born in 1920, she graduated high school early at 14. They just kept putting her through. And after that, it was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? You know, she didn't grow up in a community or in a family that cultivated her desire for knowledge and have funds to send her to college. And then in my generation, born in 56, you know, my parents, neither one were college educated, and they didn't know how to facilitate that conversation with me. And knowing too that money was attached to wanting to go to college, I found a way through my friends to be motivated because of, you know, women of the 70s. That's what women did. We went to college, and I found a way to work my way through college to get my education, and nobody will ever take that away from me. That was always one of my biggest achievements, personal achievements. And now having 3 children, it was just assumed, you know, from the time they were born, these kids are going to have a good education. They're going to college. They're going to be professionals. And so that is the progress of how things have changed, I think, even just on a national level with the gender differences, where now it's not whether you're a female or a male in most families, it doesn't matter. You're going to college if you come from the right socioeconomic environment and community and culture.
I just wish they taught home economics and homemaking at the college level so that was an honorable career, because the fact that I am quote unquote semi-retired and a homemaker makes it possible for me to have a zero waste home. That takes a lot of time.
So maybe it needs to be structured a little bit differently, and seeing colleges and their sustainable green programs. There's more being offered all the time that when I was in my education track, you know, wasn't even talked about. So there's some flexibility with some of the smaller private schools to do your own degree. So hopefully those interested will pursue those kinds of topics if that's indeed what they want to do.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about a dear friend of mine who lives on a farm in Michigan, and their dream was to have a, you know, permaculture farm, not to grow vegetables to sell at the farmer's market necessarily, or meat, but to be like a model of how you can live sustainably. And they have this extended family. It's her and her sister and her parents and all their kids and the brother. And, you know, it's like this whole thing. And they do wild schooling, which is like homeschooling. It's like unschooling, but it's all nature-based and moon cycle-based. And she's got this huge worldwide following for her children's moon club. And it's just amazing the work that they're doing. Like, I'm going up there in a couple of weeks and I'm so excited. Right now, I'm realizing that what I want to do is spend time with my girls. And, you know, Cora is 9 and Maggie is 7. And then the other cousins are 7 and 5. And I'm like, I want to learn from them. I want to go there and start like asking them questions about like, what do you know? And how do you think about these things and stuff like that? And just see, because I don't have a lot of contact with kids, having been child-free by choice my whole life. So I'm really excited at this point to hear what that, you know, viewpoint is. And
hey, Jen, would you put Nikki's information in the chat for everybody? I get her emails, and I always love, she's got lessons and she's got certain things when the moon comes out. I don't always read all of them, but she does have communications through email for a lot of the philosophy, and it is completely different than being in school, you know, a traditional school setting. And I imagine that these are going to be incredible stewards of our environment moving forward, and hopefully the girls will be leaders as well in their respective knowledge.
Absolutely. I mean, it gives me so much hope that this is happening and that it is a worldwide movement. Like, oh my gosh, I just spent an hour the other day reading the hundreds of comments under what inspired you to wild school or homeschool. And it was just so great. Just people all over the world saying why this is so important. And it's all about, it's very, you child led, like their inspiration of what do they want to learn. It's not a structured sort of like the old style homeschool. It's completely different. But and the Kids Moon Club is kind of like the entry point of this thing that she's created. Of like, here is a whole kit. Each month you get sent this kit, and it's like got party ideas and recipes and games you can play and the story you can tell to your kids, and then dialogues you can have around these different nature-based learning opportunities.
Yeah, I definitely recommending, and I'm going to have to cut short. I think we're going to disappear in just like seconds. I actually have all of the information from the chat in case that happens. I know that I want to hear Dave Wilms about the solar panels for municipalities and schools. So I guess we'll have to close. To all of you, thank you so much for being part of this session, for your thoughts, for your sharing, for being such terrific females. We'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Figure out how to get out.
I know. So I was trying to go, I'll leave. I guess
That'll find me. There we go.